everyone. My name is Colby Thall, and for my May project, which lasted 3 weeks, I spent it at a farm for 2 weeks. So the first week, I wrote a lot in a blog that I was writing, and I kind of read books about children and psychology and kind of tried to figure that kind of stuff out because I was going to work on a farm. And for this farm, I was actually being assistant for a teacher for 2 different school groups for the first week and the second week. So I tried as much as I could to read more about children and try to understand them. And also, I learned a lot about games that I could play with the kids. So that was what I did pretty much the first week. And by the second week, I felt ready to go. And that I had everything together. I have no idea what happened with this.
There you go.
But, okay, I don't even really need the slides. So for the first week, I was with 2 leaders, Kat and Frenza, and they were both college students. And I kind of helped them with more of the manual labor. So during the trip, I got water for the kids. I'll just let it go. I did more of the manual labor while they kind of were directing it, and so I just did most of what they told me, and I kind of got to know the kids. And for the second week, I was also kind of like assistant to 2 different teachers, so it was kind of, they expected different things. So that was my mentor, Emily Hughes, and she works at Croca and actually lives there. And another college student named Rachel. And
sorry, do you want to just take a minute and slide back on?
Yeah. Okay.
So we're gonna edit it all out, so it'll be seamless.
All right. Yeah, I think I would have.
Then don't touch the keyboard.
Yeah, don't touch the keyboard.
Oh, maybe it's the keyboard causing trouble.
So a little bit about the history of Croca. Croca was actually started by a man named Misha, and during his senior year of college, he was trying to think of a thesis or something that he could do that could really change the world. So he kind of thought of this idea of kind of this consciousness meets wilderness, and it's actually on my shirt right here, and it's on the logo. And that kind of symbolizes kind of being in the wilderness, but having kind of consciousness of where you are and taking care of where you are. So for example of that is, he started this farm, and it started from just like a summer farm of having children come and do canoeing and kayaking and working there on the farm. And it grew from 24 students to over 200. So Croca is in Marlin, New Hampshire, as I said, and so it also, those started from Putney and kind of moved there. So this whole kind of consciousness meets wilderness thing really also took into play where like students would go and during free time they would sit at different parts of Croca. So around Croca there's a lot of wilderness and a lot of trees and like places where you can kind of sit alone. And also they would do that, or they would sometimes go barefoot running in the morning. So that was definitely a really interesting kind of feel. So that's how that started. And the name Croca is actually by his dog. His dog was named Croca, and during the winter of his senior year, there's this huge snowstorm. And so he was out alone, and he wasn't really aware of the snowstorm because it started when he was asleep and he was outside. And his dog came and woke him up and basically saved his life. So that's why Croca. So it's a little bit about Croca. And what I did, as I said before, so I kind of missed the order, and then why I came back was, again, for the whole kind of community that I felt when I went there. So I had started going from 7th grade, and I'd been going at school. I went to a school in middle school called the Mulker Cooperative School. And Croca was really good friends with them. And so each year we would go back, and we would do canoeing trips some years. We would work on the farm some other times. So we did lots of variations and really got a feel of what it was like to live there. And so I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the wilderness. I fell in love with the idea of going and working on a farm, and I never thought I could do it, but I kind of just did, and then I just became like a thing I would do every year till my 12th grade. So since I've been doing it so long, that's pretty much why. And also, as I said before, there's also a lot of hard work in it. Like we have chores every morning, which I'm going to talk about a little more about things I would do every day. So when the students came, we would wake up at 6 o'clock and we would kind of talk over the day, and I would talk with the other leaders and we'd make plans and like talk for like 30 minutes, and then we would wake up the kids at 6:30 and we would sing them a song. So that was our way of kind of waking them up, saying, hey guys, let's go do chores. And so we would wake them up, we would have a snack, we would do some chores, then a breakfast, more chores. And some of the chores were really fun. Like some of the kids got to milk cows, they got to make lots of yummy foods, just like cheese, and they got to make, get eggs from the chickens. But some of them were a little more challenging, such as I, for the first whole week, got assigned to weeding. So a lot of the students did not like that, and there were lots of complaints due to the very hot weather, and the chores would last around an hour and a half, and then have a break, and then have another hour and a half. So it was kind of a lot of work for 3rd and 4th graders. So after all these chores, we would usually have lunch after all this, and after we got all sweaty and gross. And our meals also worked really differently. So we would start by, of course, washing our hands so they're nice and clean, and we would get in a circle, and we would hold hands and we would sing a song. And after that, we would say a blessing for our meal, for our family and everything, and then we would pass around our meals, and so everyone would have their own bowl. And when everyone was served, that was when we could all eat. So we'd eat our meal, and then if people wanted seconds, we would count off, which is where, like, I would say 1 if I wanted something to eat, but if the next person next to me didn't, they would just turn their head. And the person after that wanted something, they would say 2, and we'd go all in a circle. And so we would know how much food we'd give to each student and how much they would want, and it was a really good way of, again, using that whole consciousness of kind of knowing when you wanted something more or when you wanted to eat, and just having that patience of waiting for everyone to be served. So then after having our lovely meals, that would happen all 3 meals of the day, every day, we would do something fun. So we'd go canoeing, we would go hiking, we would usually hike up this lovely mountain called Pitcher Mountain, and they had lots of blueberries in August, and they also had a lovely, like, great fire tower, which we'd climb up and see the whole mountain view from there. So we'd have a lot of fun doing that. And then that followed with dinner, and then we'd all read them a story, and then they'd go to sleep. But another thing is that on the 2 Thursdays that I was there, they had something different. So instead of going back to Croca and having dinner like usual, we would go to Orchard Hill, which is a bakery run by a man named Noah who works with Croca. And so Croca kind of provides them with people. They tell them, oh, you guys should go to Orchard Hill. Like, it has all these amazing products. And Orchard Hill would sell their eggs, their milk, their cheese. And so the students, after they had their fun of swimming or doing kayaking or canoeing and just so much fun, they went and they stacked firewood for 2 hours. And so we would line up an assembly line, and we'd pass the firewood on to each person, and then we'd stack them in long rows. And we did that for, as I said, 2 hours. And then after that, we had amazing pizza. So Noah would bring the dough and sauce, and we would bring all the toppings. And so he would show us how to stretch it out, how to make a pizza, how to not get air holes in them, air bubbles. And then the kids themselves would do the whole process of it, and he would just cook the pizza. And it made them feel even accomplished when they're not even working. So that whole kind of fun and work kind of mushing together was something that I really learned on this trip, because I've always thought of them as really separate kind of things. And due to Croca, though, I've learned a real appreciation for work and how it benefits the whole community. So I saw firewood getting chopped for that day, for fires for each meal. I saw chickens being, us getting eggs from chickens. And some of them did not really like us. They would peck us, and they were not the kindest. But, so that was one thing I learned. I also learned about being kind of a leader and kind of balancing myself from not overstepping my boundaries or being the leader of the group, because I was only an apprentice, but also not being a student and kind of being on their level. So I kind of had to find that balance. And so overall, though, it really helped me grow as a person, and I felt like I learned so much about the students, about the other staff, about how Croca works in general, and I just have such more of an appreciation for it. So, yeah.
really wonderful. How has it changed things you do on a daily basis? Do you feel like you have had some residual benefit from this?
Well, I got to mention this, but we do lots of composting. So like when we had meals, we would, if the kids weren't allowed to just throw it in the trash, they'd have to compost it, and we'd have like these huge crates of compost that we would reuse and use for soil and stuff like that. But we'd also use the compost and give it to the chickens. So everything that we used kind of went in rotation. So when I got home, I was like, Mom, we have to like start composting again. Like it's really beneficial for everyone.
Yeah.
And same with like, yeah, I felt like everything we did was this whole cycle. It wasn't really like an ending. Like we had trash, of course, but like it was very limited. Like we always found a way of reusing it or using it better. And so that's definitely something I took away.
So can you sing one of the songs you sang when you were sitting around?
Okay. I gotta think of one now. Oh, I have a good one. No, Matthew, I don't like that song. I like a nice cup of tea when I wake up in the morning, and just as the sun is rising at the dawn, and won't it be just a ticket floating in the sea, sipping cups of tea. This is her.
Colby, you mentioned to me a story that probably had to be edited out for time.
Yeah.
Of a little girl who was really afraid of something that you also were afraid of.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
I love story. Oh, yeah. There was this little girl. Her name was Gemma, and she was really sweet. But she was really afraid of heights. And in Croca, there's like this huge barn that they just actually built this last summer, and they finished it completely. It's beautiful. It's all made out of wood. There's this thing at the top called a cupola, and it's like a little outpost where you can see all of Croca, and it's like so beautiful. But to get there, it's kind of hard because you have to climb up this side ladder and then go on this like really narrow plank across, and then climb up another ladder. And so for this girl who was really afraid of heights and she knew that if she went up, she would look down, and she couldn't see anything. There was no railing, so it was really hard for me to encourage her. So I was like, look, if you go up, then I'm going to go up. So I went up, and then she followed me, and then she got to the top, and she was really proud of herself, and it made me really happy to see like her conquer her fears. And yeah, it was a really good moment for me to see that. Any other questions? Yes.
Do you think this experience helped you plan your future life, where you go to college, what you want to do with your life?
Well, yeah, it's a really good question. I'm actually thinking about in college majoring in psychology, and so this kind of gave me an experience about children and about kind of their outlook on life, and just kind of, I've never really worked with 3rd and 4th graders, so I never really had the chance to kind of have a taste of who they were as people. So when I went to this farm and when I went through all of this, I just kind of decided that in my life, I really do want to work with kids, and if it's not through psychology, if it's through music, like whatever it is, I definitely have a new appreciation for them.
So there's the logo was the dog, you know, and the people of the eye there. And I wasn't sure if it was a coyote or that was the fellow's dog.
Yeah.
But did you see a lot of wild animals up in the...
Oh, yes. I didn't get to that yet. That's a good point. Well, I saw lots of like cows, I guess, and like regular like farm animals. But at night, there were lots of toads, and they would like come and like climb all over. So I would always accidentally step on one or something, because it was like pitch dark. There's like you had to like go on a long walk to get to the bathroom, and so I would just kind of travel along and try not to step on them. And there's also, I think one night I saw a possum. I think I saw one, but I'm not sure because it was really dark out, and it's just kind of there, kind of running around. And there are a lot of the farm animals, and like it's really a beautiful place.
Did any of the reading you did help you in any way?
So, yes, I read a book called The Last Child in the Woods, and I completely forgot who it's by, but it really was a really interesting book. He talked a lot about how about different roles that people play and how about how nature affects them as people, as like sometimes he said like there are like some people like kids who are afraid to go outside because they're like afraid of the unknown. But then there are some kids that want to go outside but their parents won't allow them. So like he kind of gave me like lots of perspectives about children and like what they wanted and what they could get out of nature. And he also talked a lot about how in like our society and stuff, like how we should kind of keep nature in mind and use it as kind of like a place to do work, and like how it's really a peaceful place for kids, especially with like anxiety and depression, who can kind of come out there and just kind of feel this really internal bliss, I would say. And so I definitely thought a lot about that because I know that for me personally, like when I would go out, even just like on a walk, it would just make me feel better, like just being outside. And I feel like in like nowadays, it's really hard for people. So I feel like being aware of places like Kroga and seeing really what effect nature can have on a person, really moving. Yeah, something like that.
Are you still sleeping in yurts, and did the 4-year-olds, were you sleeping with them?
No, they were in these little hobbit holes that so they were made out of like these long pieces of like wood, and then like, it's kind of hard to describe them. They look like hobbit holes, but they like had like these huge, they're kind of also like little caves, so they had like these huge pieces of wood, and over that they had like greens and grass, and they kind of look like little mountains of grass. It's very hard to describe them, but they're very, very beautiful, and they're very warm and isolating, and like really like when you go in one, you just feel like, oh, I want to go to sleep in one. But so the kids stayed in 2 of those, and I actually stayed in a tent with my leaders, and the tent was open, which is kind of a problem because there are also a lot of mosquitoes. So they would attack me all the time at night, but I kind of got used to it, and I brought like a bug net thing, so it really helped me. And I mean, it kind of just made me like know, like, you know, this is the real world. Like I don't see mosquitoes all the time in the city, but I mean, it doesn't mean that they're out there, and this is just nature and how it is.
If you said this, I apologize because I missed it. Were there any screens up there?
No, we yeah, I forgot that. But no, we don't use any electronics. Like the teachers sometimes would bring their phones, which was like fine because they were adults. But none of the kids had access, and even some of the staff like didn't want to because they wanted to really be involved in everyday life and not have that distraction. And the only reason I used mine was to write my blog. But other than that, I tried not to because it's kind of it's just kind of nice to really be somewhere and not have that distraction. Oh yes. Yeah.
One of the things you mentioned to me was a lot about the physical work,
Yeah.
and how that made you feel when you were eating. Can you share some like about how the relation of eating, working so hard?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So after we did all this hard work, and like even throughout the day we would be tired from like running around, or the kids would be tired, it was kind of really nice that we'd actually feel hungry. Like it wasn't like here where I'll sit like in class and I won't do anything physical. I'll just kind of be there and not. And then when I get to meals, I'm just kind of like, oh okay, like I guess I'll eat. Like I'm not that hungry, but I will because I know I have to eat. But like there, I felt like this need to because I was working so hard and I was really using all this physical strength that I felt so much more hunger and appreciation for food. And the food there was all locally grown. It's either from other farms or from Kroger itself. They had their own greenhouse. And that was really nice. And so there I just felt this like just love for food in general. Everything I got was very delicious.